are live.
Yay!
It's my favorite thing. Oh my gosh, you guys. So say hey as you come in, everybody. Welcome to episode 53. Yay! All right, so you guys say hey as you come in. Make sure you guys like this. Give us lots of hearts. Drop lots of love. Tell me where you guys are coming from. Make sure you guys are asking questions. I want everybody to interact. And if there's anything you feel called to share or ask, please do. Suzanne, hey, Suzanne says, oh, Dee says hey. Suzanne says hi. Oh my gosh, look at all these people. Awesome. So yes, and if you feel so called to, please share the show. I always want to make sure that we are continuing to reach more people so that I can bring more amazing women to you to share their stories. So wow, we got a lot of people. Hey, gosh, look at all these people. This is awesome. So yeah, as we go through this, you guys, make sure you interact. Please feel free. If you have a question, please ask. If you hear something and you're like, oh my God, I just had an aha moment, let us know. You know, I want to know what you guys are receiving from these conversations because I think all these are great. So I am going to dive into my epic intro and I'm going to introduce my awesome guests here, you guys. So without further ado, hello and welcome to the Tough Woman Table. For all of you that are new to this show, if this is the first time watching, because I know Jennifer shared to her audience. So thank you for being here. I'm so excited. I love that you guys are coming out to support my guest here. I love that you guys are just coming out to hear this amazing story. So hello and welcome to the Tough Woman Table, you guys. This is the table where I invite some super badass tough women like Jennifer here to take a seat, join in on the conversation, and share her amazing story, which I've had the privilege to read a little bit about it, and I'm just so excited to hear it straight from her, you guys. So a tough woman, I believe that all women have the power within themselves to live an authentic life, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered to go out and get whatever success looks like to them. All right. So whatever success looks like to you, I believe everybody has the ability already within them to go out and make that happen, you guys. So I share this belief by championing tough women who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing it through it all. Women who now live the life they want is the woman they were created to be, and women who own their stories so that other women can embrace and own theirs as well. Because, as I always say, you guys, when we give ourselves permission to own and share our stories, we give someone else permission in the same breath, you guys. When we show up in our greatness, we give someone the ability to show up in theirs as well, which is really the biggest thing I want to promote with this show is that everything you see us up here doing or hear us doing, you are capable of doing that as well. And the only person that needs to give you permission is you guys. So without further ado, and Suzanne says she is awesome. Oh, I love that. That is awesome. See, I love it when, especially when other women support other women. I think that's just beautiful. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you guys to my guest, Jennifer Hocutt. Okay. CEO of J.Hocutt Group. So I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about who she is and what she does. And then we are going to dive straight into this story. So Jennifer, thank you for being here.
I'm so excited. Thanks so much for having me, Ashley. I so much appreciate being able to spend this time with you and your audience. And I see some of my crew coming on. So thank you so much for the love, you guys. I am Jennifer Hocutt. I am the CEO and founder of J.Hocutt Group, which is a leadership and professional development consulting group. And I started that back in 2018, went full-time in it in July last year. So I've been in it for about 6 months. And I help leaders find their voice and take the lead in their life. But mainly what I do is I save people, I rescue them from professional isolation. So what that looks like is when you're in the corporate environment and you're in a work environment, it gets really lonely sometimes. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know how to lead through challenges and difficulties. And I like to come alongside people and lend that support because we were never meant to go it alone. So that's what I do.
And I love that. And I hope you'll dive a little bit into the leadership stuff. But hold on before I say, Jennifer says, hey.
Hey, another Jennifer. Love that.
I know. Jennifer was actually the 4th episode. So she has been around the show for like a long time. And I feel like this is your husband.
That is him. Hi, Chris.
Oh my God. Angela says, hey, ladies. Angela is another show. She has been my #1 fan since the first episode. Like she has only missed like 2 or 3 episodes. So I'm so happy she's here because she is in consulting as well. So I think this is going to be so for her. But I love that you talk about leaders not going it alone, because before I got into the whole like wanting to help women go live, I really wanted to work with women in leadership and helping women step up. And what I learned was that there really is, it's a really large and lonely place for women in leadership. And a lot of women feel like they can't trust people. You hear it all the time. Like women, so I can't, especially like I can't trust other women. I constantly feel like I'm being undercut by other people, or people like the one thing that I read about is women feeling like their ideas are being stolen from right out from underneath them. So I love that you talk about walking that road, because you're right. It is a really lonely road.
Absolutely. It can be a very lonely world. And I was in healthcare leaderships for well over a decade, navigated my way through several positions, got to the senior leader level, and was running regions really. So, anywhere from 145 to 200 team members in a region over multiple states. And you would think, surrounded by all of those people, how could I possibly feel lonely? But it is really lonely. And it can get lonely at the top when you're the senior leader on the region. You can't go to somebody that you work with and kind of vent. You can't have a session where you're just venting and being really authentic, because everybody reports to you in some capacity. Mm-hmm. And if the day comes that you have to hold them accountable, your ugly meltdowns and stories could definitely come out to bite you in the butt. And you don't want that to happen, but you need that outlet, and you need somebody who's in the industry that kind of knows the area or is in a leadership position. So definitely my husband was a great resource, but I mean, after a while, he gets tired of hearing about it too, right? Oh my gosh. So I've been really lucky to have such great support. I really have. And I know that a lot of women don't have that wonderful support. So I want to be that champion for them and come alongside them.
And I have to say, before we dive into this, I think that's the theme of 2020 is really seeing women start coming together and leave behind that stigma of women can't collaborate. Women can't work together. I mean, you guys, look at what we're doing here. I mean, two successful women working together, and it is incredibly possible. So before we dive into this, Jennifer says, my husband's name is Chris. I love it.
Jennifer and Chris is out there.
Suzanne says, amen, who to trust. And you know what? There is, but she's right. I agree with that, is especially when you're in that upper level position, like you're talking, you can't, because then you never know what people are going to use against you too. Oh man, she looks really unstable. She had this complete meltdown, even though she was being human for 5 minutes. So yeah, it is a really, really strange place to navigate sometimes. And then Jennifer's like, I felt like that for a while. Yeah, I think we've all been in that space where we've been like, God, I just can't trust anybody I'm around, like da 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 da. So, and then love it, women supporting women. What a concept. All right, you guys. So keep your comments coming. I'm going to check in with everybody as we go through this. And here we go. I'm going to this last one. Jennifer's mom.
Hi, Mom.
I love it. Like your audience is ridiculous.
Hi, Lisa. Good to see you, girl.
Oh my gosh. So, all right, you guys. So this is my favorite part, and this is, I think, the most important part in why I do this. So I really want to dive deep into what is the story behind what led you to doing this. Like, what made you go, you know what? I want to be that piece, that piece that these women need. I want to show up for women in this space. And what was that journey to get you there, and what did that look like?
So, I was really successful in my role. I was really successful in the leadership roles. I moved my way up. I navigated through corporate, but I never wanted to be a corporate person, ever. I went into private healthcare, and when doctors owned their own practices, and they were the leaders, they were the healers, they wanted to see patients, and they wanted someone to come in and lead their business operations. And that's where I started. But the landscape of healthcare wildly changed over the course of the years, and it became a corporate-owned entity. And so I was forced to go into the corporate environment. I never, ever had that desire. But when I got there, I was so naive. I tried to become friends with people and, have a support system in place and really support others, to the point where I started to just be taken advantage of and, stabbed in the back. And, I thought people had a certain perception of me and it ended up going a different way. You're either you're too nice and they don't trust you. If you're not nice, you're a bitch boss. It's like, where do you find your footing? It's like you end up coming in you come in every day as who you think people expect you to be instead of who you really are, because being authentic puts you just kind of hanging out there in the wind. It makes you really vulnerable. And so you start building these protective barriers. You just don't know who you can really trust. Friends one day, enemies the next. And the corporate world, I wasn't in it. I was probably in it for 7 years and it wore me out. I mean, it beat me up, it chewed me up, it spit me out. It was a very tough position. And the further I got along in it, the lonelier it got, right? If I got promoted, I was favored by somebody. I was, having a relationship with somebody. I mean, it is just so hard to navigate as a woman. You just cannot win. And then if you aren't going for those big roles, you're lazy. She just doesn't care. She has no confidence. She's not a leader really. And she's just not pulling her weight. So it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't environment. And I started to actually have health problems. So I think that was the big moment where it started to affect my personal relationships, my professional relationships, and my health. And I really had to take a step back and look at what I was doing. And I was helping people all along on the side. I was always advising them and counseling them and writing their resumes and encouraging them to do all the big things that I couldn't find myself to do, stepping on that other side of fear. And people kept telling me, you should do this on your own. You should do this all the time. This is what lights you up. This is what your purpose is. And I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think I could do that. I mean, that sounds really scary. And I need a steady paycheck. But eventually, I just was so unsupported at my job and I was not valued, even though I was really successful in driving revenue in really strong ways for my region and really leading my team successfully. I felt like a failure. I did not feel an ounce of the success that I had really achieved because I was not living my purpose.
And real quick, so Lisa says we absolutely love Jen.
Love you too, girl.
And she says she's so supportive of her fellow DC fempreneur. So I like that you talk, before we go any further, I like that you talk about it's the double standard that women are held to in leadership. And that was the one thing I really learned about. And even though I've experienced leadership in a hospitality and pharmaceutical aspect, like you talk about healthcare, I did pharmacy for 5 years and you're talking about a beast in and of itself.
Yes.
Oh my God. If I never have to do a prior authorization day in my life ever again, I will be so happy.
Girl.
It's amazing how women are looked at. It's like, if you're too nice, then you're not fit to lead, right? If you try to be everybody's friend, then you're not a leader, which is funny because if you look at it from men versus women, men are more favored over women. So if a man is like really nice, oh, he's so supportive and he listens so well. If a woman, on the other hand, follows the same suit, oh, she's not a good leader. She's very wafy. But then again, like you said, if women are more aggressive, more driven, and have those more traditionally masculine tendencies, then you're seen as the bitch, the ice queen. Oh my God, I got to work for her again. And then you lose in the popularity contest, which, crazy enough, this is something else I learned because I never had a large corporate background. Promotions can be based on your popularity within the company. Like, that's a big thing. And I'm like, oh my God. So it's like you said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like, what do women do, right?
Right. And 100% people, when I would come up for my annual review, my bosses would go around and ask people if they liked me. Like, everyone can't like me because I have to hold them accountable for things. And if I just happen to have a crucial conversation about somebody who was not, meeting expectations, of course they don't like me in those moments. But I wouldn't be doing my job effectively as a leader if I didn't have those conversations. So if you hold people accountable and they don't like you, then your bonus is affected. Not to mention that it should be not entirely based on metrics, but the heavy portion of it should be your metrics, right? Are you bringing in the revenue that you're supposed to be bringing? Are you meeting your goals? Are you setting those expectations and executing on them effectively? But it would be, do you like her? And it it was a no-win situation, because then if you don't do your job as a leader, then you get written up for that too. So it is such a conundrum, and it's just this constant dance back and forth. How do I survive? And that's where I felt like I was not thriving, I was not living, I was merely surviving in the roles. And I tried so hard to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. I was uncomfortable on the outpatient side of the practices. So then I moved to the inpatient side. That I didn't love either. So then I went back to the outpatient side. I did primary care, every specialty under the sun. Oh, it's not cardiology. That's not for me. Oh, I'll go to OBGYN. I mean, I just kept feeling like it must be the role. It must be the organization. It must, I just kept leaning into my safe zone instead of saying, this is not for me. I am not a corporate person. This doesn't align with my ethics and values. This is not who I am. I'm not living my purpose, and I need to cut bait. But I did this, you guys, for years. Years I did this. And all it did was prolong where I am. And looking back, I wish I would have done it sooner. But it was a fear of not believing in myself, because you're told over and over that you're doing a good job. You have statistics speaking to that, but it's never good enough. It's not good enough. And they pivot and they change and they make it impossible. And you just get beat down so much, it's impossible to believe in yourself. It's impossible to step forward. And that's really where I was at. I just couldn't take anymore. I remember I used to sit in the parking lots of the practice and just sit there and stare at the building, talking myself into going in. Like, you have to go into this meeting. You really cannot put this in drive and just cruise down the highway and never look back. That is not the responsible leader thing to do. But I cannot tell you how many times I had to have those conversations day after day. It was so painful. Painful.
Oh my gosh. I can only imagine. I had that one time, and I was like driving to a job, and I'm like, you don't want to go here. You don't want to go here. I'm like, oh, but I need a paycheck. It's like, no, you don't want to go here. And it's like, oh my God. It's like, what do you do when that happens? It's like, oh my God. So what happened when you finally said, okay, this is it? Because this is always the fun part of the journey. It's like, you go through all that struggle and stuff, and you're like, I'm going to do it on my own now, which I always feel like is the really fun part. So what happened when you finally recognized, okay, you know what, this isn't my purpose, but maybe this is, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do something about this?
So after I had, some health problems that were really challenging, and my doctor said, listen, for someone who's 43 years old and in perfect health, and you're having this many health challenges, you need to change something that's going on in your life, and you need to take a hard look at that. So I think that really was a catalyst for me to take a step back and say, this is how this is really affecting you, because you really don't always see it when you're in it, how negative it is, how toxic. You start acclimating to it because it's just the life that you live, and it's what you know. And so when that happened, I really started looking. And again, you would think that that's the aha moment, but no, I took a different job. I tried once again to take a different job and move into something else. And it was every time I took a different job, it got less and less time that I started regretting that I'm still here. And at the last one, it was literally in less than 90 days, I had started to have regrets. And so I just couldn't do it anymore. The health issues, the fact that, how many different excuses can I tell myself that this is just not for me? So I started my own business. I just decided, well, I'm going to stay in my job. I'll start my own business. I'll put my little toe in the pond for a little bit and see if the business takes off, see if there's a need. Not fully commit, but just see if what people say is true. And of course, nothing happened because I wasn't fully committed. I wasn't dedicated, right? I wasn't going all in on my business. I was wavering back and forth, still getting that paycheck, hating life. But then on the other hand, not having time and the resources and the real belief in myself to make my business take off. So it was maybe around January of the following year that I just had a conversation with my mom on the way to an office. And I just said, I'm leaving. I'm just leaving. Here's my game plan. And I put 6 to 9 months in place. And I wanted to then have an exit strategy, be set up financially so that I could go into my business. And again, all to not take a risk. It was all, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have this strategic plan, and this is how it's going to go, and it's going to go perfect. And I've had it all going on. And I would constantly tell my poor mother every time, Mom, this is my plan. And she's like, yes, that is your plan. You know it's happening. And I decided August, I would just make it through the summer. And when I got back from vacation, I would resign and I would leave healthcare before and never turn back, go into my business full time. And just this wonderful opportunity came in July. And I was able to leave in July, and I left, and I never looked back. That was a really positive day in my life. And I left healthcare operations on a Wednesday, and I started J.Hocutt Group full time on a Monday.
And
yeah.
Suzanne says 24 years in corporate inpatient healthcare. I was told that if my team members like me, then I'm not doing a good job.
And I sadly know Suzanne's boss.
Oh my gosh. Oh, your mom says I am her biggest fan.
Thank you, Mom.
Awesome. All right. So when you decided to, because this is something that I don't feel like we talk about, but not talk about. So what happens when you dive off the cliff, right? And you go, listen, I've got no wings, but I'm going to figure this out on my way down. So what happened when you took that opportunity? You said, you know what, I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to take the leap. And we're going to see where this goes.
Yeah, it was scary. I mean, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I thought, well, I have an MBA. I've run successful regions. I know what I'm doing, but the online and service space is completely different than healthcare. And so I reached out and I secured resources. I hired a strategy coach for 6 months to help me get off the ground and kind of, because listen, I needed to make money. Okay. I did have some finances in place, but that was probably only a 6 to 7 month buffer. I really needed to bring in the cash. And so I wanted to try to avoid pitfalls as much as possible. And so I did hire a coach, and she did. She helped. She was very beneficial in a lot of ways. But I'm also a business person, and I'm used to coming from a place of no. So she would tell me things, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'm not doing that. That's not going to work. I know. I have experience. It's not going to work. Or that's really uncomfortable. Hell no, I'm not doing what, speaking engagement? You're crazy. I'm not doing that. And I never wanted to lead my business from the front. I never wanted to be in front of a camera. I never wanted to do speaking engagements. So I fought my own business for like 4 months. And, it's getting close to the holidays and my kids are wanting gifts. And I'm like, I'm living in a little bit of scarcity here. Things are not firing the way I thought they would. I thought I would get 90 days and I'd get clients signed on. And I did. I had a goal that in 90 days I'd get 1 client. And that actually did happen. But I was so caught up in the emotion of scarcity that I didn't even realize that happened. My coach actually had to remind me that you actually executed on that goal. But it was like one person, one project, and it was only a month long. So I just kept fighting against everything. And I went on a video with a friend, and it was in her group. And I think I totally bombed that video. Ashley, it was horrendous, girl. It was stuff. I mean, it was pretty bad. I was like just paralyzed. Thank you for having me. It was awful. And a lot of people watched it, which was even worse. I'm like, oh my God, people are tuning into this. This is horrendous. This is forever preserved. But people started reaching out to me saying, it was great. You did wonderful. You're great on camera. And I'm like, I do not see that. They are crazy. So it took me another month to work up the guts to go live in my group. And I started a group and I went live doing videos and just the support. I mean, you see it here. They just are so supportive, and they demanded that I show up for them in these ways. So I just decided to give in. I just decided to free fall, to give in. If I say I'm coming here to help people and to serve them, how do you not answer that call when they say, this is how we need you to serve us? This is how we need you to show up. And I just showed up, just kept showing up, and it did get easier. I still don't super love it, but it does get easier. I'm not like you. I just don't thrive off that camera and being in front of people. I wish I did, but I don't. It's a talent I do not possess, but it does get easier. It really does. And I just have kept going. And really in the past month and a half, I was just sharing with my group before I jumped on with you, my business has just really taken off in huge ways. And it's because I surrendered. I absolutely surrendered.
Mm. And you guys, just in case you're wondering, because this is like my message lately, this is why you need to go live in your business.
You do.
Online space, you guys. I always joke, like I used to hate public speaking. I hated it with a passion. Like I'm like, I don't want to be in front of them cameras. Like don't do and it just like you, man, you just got to start somewhere. And and I tell people it's like the quickest way to create that no like trust factor that you need to have an online business is going live. Not to go on a live tangent because then I will go off. But yeah, that is a huge, huge thing. And then I love that you talk about building a tribe of people, man. Like your people are out there, you guys. If anybody, like if you take away anything in this world, you have people that need the solution that you provide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody has a problem that you have a solution to, which is why I tell you, like, you need to be out there, like, talking you don't even have to have anything scripted. I mean, I think some of my best lives have been when I've just come on and be like, listen, I was going through this problem and this is how this helped me and da-da-da-da. And people go, oh yeah, like that helps. So I want to talk about what happened when you decided to surrender. You said your business took off. So yeah, like what did that look like once you're like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to give into this, because that's a big thing that people struggle with. They stay in, maybe they stay in niches that they don't need to stay in, or they think they need to be supporting this, but really they need to be doing this. So what happened when you were like, you know what? I have no idea what's going to happen, but here we go. We're going to go with it.
Yeah, I had a breakdown. I will be honest. That is when I had the breakdown with my husband. I'm like, I'm not a dancing monkey on camera. I can't do this. They want this from me. I can't do it. I've got to go get a job. And, that's when he gently let me have my moment and reminded me that this is my real job. First of all, I have to stop saying, so many times when we go into business for ourselves, people are like, well, are you going to get a real job? And, that kind of adds to that negative story, that self-sabotage. I luckily have never had my friends and family say that. They've always been so wildly supported, but I just had that story that I made up of my own. And he pulled me back and reminded me. And on the flip side, I started supporting this community. I brought this community together. If I gave up in that moment, I was failing them, because they were showing up for me and they were supportive. They were being there. They were, diving into what I had to say. They were taking steps in their life. I would tell them to do these things. They're out there going and doing it. And then I just poof, disappear. How horrible is that? Like, what kind of person would I be? They showed up for me and then I abandoned them. I tell them I'm here to support you. And then I have a weak moment and then I'm not there for them. I knew that it was greater than me at that point, that it wasn't about me anymore. It is about serving the greater good. And while I thought that's what I was doing the whole time, it wasn't until that moment that I realized I really was trying to control too much of the situation. So I had my breakdown. I got myself together, went back to work, in my business, hit the ground running and showed up on video and just decided I'm not going to look for other jobs. I'm not half in, half out. I'm not going to have a weak moment and then start looking at, Indeed and start posting my resume. I'm not doing that anymore. That is gone and done. I'm not looking back. So I cross the bridge, burn it down, and I'm on the other side. And I'm going to keep going. And it's going to work out because there's no other choice. So I think that's the biggest thing. I tell my group all the time, if you stop now, what if that next corner was when you were going to make it? What if you had to take 3 more hits of the sledgehammer and you got to the gold? How awful would that be if you quit? But you'll never know that if you give up. Uh-huh. So my business rewarded me for it. I had a goal of having 3 clients this month, signing on 3 projects for the month. And it's already February 6th and I already have beyond 3 signed on. So, when you show up, I think the universe rewards you. I think the universe is always conspiring to reward us and to have our dreams become reality and goals become successes. And we just have to put it out there, but you have to do the work. I always say you got to show up with the energy that you want for the outcome times 2, because you think it's going to be one thing, but you got to add 2, and you got to double that amount of energy to get to that goal line. And I'm telling you, it's completely worth it. And people say all the time, oh, it happens overnight. And I used to think, you are out of your ever-loving mind. It is not happening for me, people. It is not happening overnight. It's not happening 3 months. But I really do feel like it's almost happened overnight, because it just started to take off in miraculous ways. And it's been amazing, truly amazing.
And I like that you talked about like not giving up, and if you hadn't shown up, you would have been letting these people down. And I think it's really easy to get into that space and I don't mean to say this it's a selfish space, but it is so easy to get in the space of thinking of yourself in the terms like looking at like, how are you feeling in that moment? And forgetting that a lot of the reasons we get into this is because we want to help other people. And you sparked something that a mentor of mine said one time when she talked about why people should be speaking. She's a speaking coach. And she goes, when I get really nervous about speaking, I go, well, how dare I? And it's really like, how dare I not go out there and share something that might help someone else? And I think that's incredibly pivotal that you look at it from that perspective, because I think that perspective is really important. Instead of that, oh my God, what are people going to think about me? It's like, who am I not going to help if I don't show up?
Right. Absolutely. And a lot of times I feel like I'm just stating obvious stuff. I say things and it's like, geez, this is so obvious. I wonder if they're sitting on the other side being like, duh, bring us some meaningful information here. But so many of them say, yeah, you're right. I do know some of the things that you have said. They are obvious, but I needed somebody else to say it. I needed somebody else to validate. Yeah, that really sucks. Or yeah, that happened, but it's a bad day. It's not a bad life. It's not a bad year. It's just a moment. It's a season. I'm beyond that. I don't need to unpack and live there in that bad moment. And they just need somebody to reinforce them and tell them that. And I think they need somebody who has, carved a path for themselves, that have seen hard times, that lived in moments of just complete, feeling disheartened, reaching success that other people would consider success, but not feeling successful, because that's not my version of success. Titles and paychecks and things. I'm a service person. I have a service heart. Hey, I'm not going to lie. That stuff was great. It was great to have that great paycheck coming in, but I'm so much happier. My family is thriving and so much happier. I'm showing up as a better mother, as a better wife, as a better daughter and friend and business owner. And that you can't put a price on that. There's no price on that. Hold on. So
Shannon says, hey there, beautiful. Hey, Shannon is starting to go live within her business as well. I love
Good for you, Shannon.
Y'all make me so happy when you all tell me that you're doing this. Like, I'm just like, yes, you can do it. Okay. And then Suzanne says it's so going to work out. You guys, I love that was the other thing that I love that you touched on. It's like, what if you stop now and that next corner was like the breakthrough, right? They always say, and this is something I had to learn too, they always say it's the hardest right before you hit that breakthrough. Like everything is going to come at you. And you talked about the universe rewarding you. And do you know who Paulo Coelho is? He wrote, yeah. So it talks about in the book, The Alchemist, it talks about when it's time for you to level up, and the universe is going to come back and test you on everything you've gone through up till then. Like, are you ready for the next level? So I often challenge people, and this is what I like to challenge myself too, is like, look at it from the perspective, okay, what am I being tested on? And how can I use this in the next space? So I love that you talked about that. And we've got a few comments. I'm going to read these. Even if I do know something, you're saying the review is always good. Reinforcement, confirmation of things known. Those are great to have. And then Suzanne says, I really need to hear your words. Moments at work, I hear your voice.
And I feel bad for her because I have the voice of a 12-year-old cheerleader. So I do apologize for that. But whatever works.
And okay, so Angela says, love all that. And then Shannon says, yes, we're going. Okay. So I have to ask, what made you decide to go into the niche that you're working now? What made you decide to serve women, and you are serving women, correct?
I do. I work with guys too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what helped you, what made you decide like, this is it, this is what I want to be doing? Like, how did you figure out that, other than people saying like, this is your purpose, like what really reinforced it for you? Okay, this is what I need to be doing. Because I think that's another thing a lot of people struggle with is like, okay, they get into their space and they're like, I'm going to create a business, and they're not doing what they're actually called to necessarily in the beginning, and they really struggle with that. So what did that journey look like to figuring out like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah, so I think for me, the leadership aspect was just a natural flow because I have the educational background, I have the experience, and I love leadership. I mean, I knew that that was my passion, and I love to find people's leader within themselves. So the favorite part of my job was growing other people. I loved to promote them and mentor them and coach them and guide them and advise them into what I saw about them. I could see their qualities that they couldn't see about themselves. And so believing in them and seeing them thrive and being a stepping stone on their path to greatness was my absolute favorite part. I think it was also a crutch because I had so much experience. It was easy for me to go into leadership because I knew so much, and I could actually say, I'm a consultant. I can do this because, hey, here's my background. Here's all the experience I have. I'm not new to this. And so there was a comfort level and yet a confidence level too. And I really started with leadership, but then I added the professional aspect of it because I knew that my journey could serve others. I knew that when you're showing up in huge ways and you don't feel valued, you don't feel appreciated, the corporate environment is just eating you up and tearing you apart, I could resonate with those people. And I was always great at writing resumes and helping people through that process of interviewing. I was a hiring official for years. I hired doctors all the way, down to, everybody who like cleans the crevices of the corners. And so I was a hiring official. I knew what people were looking for. I knew what I was looking for. I've been an applicant, obviously, because I kept, jumping ship. So I was pretty good at navigating my way through that. And so I added that piece on, but my business has pivoted. I have a group, and we talk a lot about goals and goal setting and really setting goals, not just talking about it and then falling off. Like my group is claiming 2020 as their year. This is going to be the year that the people in my group, it is going to be their best year ever. And I'm doing everything meaningful to help them get through that. So I have challenges and we talk, I make them do homework and we dive into things and they really show up in really big ways. So I think for me, it was just a natural transition. But my advice to people is, you have to realize that it may look like something at the beginning. You may feel like this is your niche. This is where you belong. This is what you should be doing. But never, ever lose sight of the fact that if something comes on your plate and it resonates with you and it sets you on fire and it's your passion, you need to chase that. It's okay to pivot. Your business is going to change. And people get tied to a name or tied to a service or a product or tied to a job or a title. But if something comes along and you feel in your heart it's your purpose and your passion, it is your responsibility to answer that call. It is absolutely your responsibility. And it's okay to pivot. You've got to be nimble. You have to change course. You've got to change strategies. That is what successful people do. They change strategies all the time.
Yeah, I think I read something somewhere where it's like successful businesses actually pivot their like business plan as a whole. It's like every 2 to 3 years they're shifting.
Absolutely.
I mean, my God, everybody take a look at Amazon. Like, look at what Amazon is becoming now. And it's all because recognizing what the solutions they need to provide for the problems that their clients and customers are having. That's always what it is. That's what I always like to provide. If you are continuously providing solutions to a problem, you will never be out of business.
Absolutely.
If you got your finger to the pulse of your people and you're like, I know exactly the solutions they need, you will never not be in business. Like, I think that was the biggest thing that I struggle with. And I know a lot of people struggle with this, getting their head wrapped around the idea that you're literally here to solve problems. And if you provide solutions, that's the golden key right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, problems evolve, people evolve. So you have to evolve too. Businesses have to evolve. Look at the businesses that didn't change, that didn't pivot. They're not in business anymore. if you hold tight to what you think you need to be doing, then you're never going to evolve. You're never going to grow. And you have to do that because people's problems change, and you've got to be nimble in those aspects.
And Shannon said, I had a moment like that for years. I thought I was a life coach. Now, without a doubt, I'm a spiritual empowerment coach. And
Good for you, Shannon. Good.
Yeah, I've had the privilege to see Shannon kind of grow in that aspect, and I love watching people's evolutions. Like I really think I love that. Like you said, watching people be able to grow and thrive and what they're doing and doing what they love. So I love being able to be a part of other people's journeys. That's why I love this show so much. It's like, what was your journey? And you get to join in on someone's journey for that little piece, and you get to be like, oh yeah, that makes, like, I felt that too. So it's a beautiful thing to get to see other people go through it and to walk into what they know they're supposed to be doing. I think that's like the most amazing thing in the world. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the things you come across, because there are a lot of, I've seen a lot of, just studying it, but also out there in the world, as far as like leadership in women and the glass ceilings. What are some of the things that you've seen, and maybe not just specifically women, but what are some of the things you've seen struggle-wise come across in what you're doing now? Like, what are some of those problems you've seen coming across? Because I feel like that's a conversation that needs to be had. Like, what are the struggles we're really facing in leadership these days? Why are we not able to, in my mind, I guess, and this may not be the best way to word it, but cultivate or at least keep great leaders? Like, what is stopping us from having, because unfortunately I have been in a lot of industries where there are a lot of chiefs, and what is it they say, there's a lot of chiefs, not enough Indians?
Yes. Yeah. So I like to call that leadership top heavy. So they are always top heavy with the big leadership positions. And then, they come through, there's a cycle, and, they get rid of all of them, and then they become scarce, and then it builds back up. And it's just this cyclical thing that they keep going through. But that's such a good question. And I'm so glad you asked it, because we don't value people. So I think especially in the corporate environment, we look at people as titles and numbers. And when it comes to making cuts, we just look at positions and we don't really look at the individuals. I know so many people who have been with companies for multiple years, 10, 20 years, and the organization is either going through an acquisition, it's trying to sell, it's going through financial hardship, and they just look at a spreadsheet and, oh, we could save money if we get rid of this whole department. And they cut all these people, and these people are out of a job. They've been dedicated. They've been loyal. They're valuable. They bring so much to the company, but they just cut them out. And then we see them struggling. They're in an older age bracket. They're struggling to keep up. They've been in the same role, so they're only acclimated to that position, and that role may not be anywhere else for them to find it. And I'm actually helping somebody right now. They have been let go from their position. They've been in it for 12 years, and they just found out 3 weeks ago that they've lost their job, and they have no idea what to do, none whatsoever. So we're trying to navigate this path together, letting them know it's going to be okay. You're going to get through it. You're going to survive. But now you're left with those residual effects. I gave my life to these people and they didn't care. And you know what? The truth is they really don't. They really didn't care. I think for leadership, we just don't value people. We don't value them. Everything's just money. It's driven by revenue. And it's sad because you're creating a really toxic culture in a lot of these major organizations. And the corporate infrastructure is definitely to blame for that. They just do not invest in people. And it shows, and people are miserable, and they shouldn't be miserable in these positions. They're doing great work. They're meeting great needs to the community. They're providing a wonderful service, and they're just not valued. And I think especially for women, it's hard because there's the boys club, and in healthcare, I really dealt with that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go there, guys. I'm putting it out today. So the boys club, especially in healthcare, it's female dominated on the clinical side customarily, but on the administrative side, it's a male dominated place. And that in itself is a huge challenge. I've been told that I'm just here, because I'm pretty to look at and I need to just make them look good. I need to make my direct report look good, who I report up to. And, it's incredibly insulting. And the challenge is if you have any type of looks, then you don't have a brain. And if you don't have looks, then you may have a brain, but nobody wants to be around you because you're not pretty to look at. You just cannot win. And it's incredibly frustrating. And that whole environment just became really, really toxic. And, the boys club, I always separated myself from that. I was always pretty tough. I stayed true to my ethics and my values. I always stood up for myself. I always called BS. I always fought for the underdog. They'd tell me to come in and fire somebody, and I would always give pushback. And I was not the easiest employee. And I admit that, but I was never going to be less than authentic. They were already stealing so much from me. I was not going to have them steal my ethics and values and morals. And so I think a lot of that was a fight, and just a fight for me to claim my rightful place, because I was educated, I was experienced, and I was really good at my job, and I deserved a seat at the table and not off to the side so that I could be eye candy for, the board of directors. So very frustrating. And I think those are the things that women face in the workplace. And then the other piece is just, we're not supportive as women. We want to say we're supportive of each other, but we are not as supportive of each other as we should be. We are in competition with each other. We'll undercut each other. We will try to cut each other off at the knees at the end of the day. And that is why there is professional isolation to this day.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do this. And then I want to ask you before we go into the last little bit. So Suzanne says 100% right. 100% right. And then Chris said this, like you always reference when you started talking about the boys club. So I feel like that's probably like a consistent topic maybe. But I always talk about that too, because I came up in hospitality, and oh my God, you want to talk about the boys club? I'm gonna get really blunt here. The way, if you were a female and you moved up in that, it was because you were sleeping with someone.
Yeah.
It wasn't about what you knew, it was about what you could do.
Right.
Literally, that was the stigma that came with you. So if you moved up, it's because you knew someone specifically. So yeah, the boys club is detrimental, man. And for women, I mean, for me, my person. But companies should emulate Richard Branson management style with Virgin. And I wanted to say something before I ask you this next question, but I agree with that. And also I'm reading the book called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Yes.
Oh my God. And I'm like, why are we not doing business? And even like this, and even in the book, he's like, I have gotten so much flack by corporations. Like, this is like a wishy-washy way to do business. Why? And it's because people over profit, because he is preaching people first. Take care of your people. Take care of your people. Profits will follow. If you look at it in the infinite game, and that you're always in it to play the game, then you're never going to lose. And so my question to you is, what have you come to find are some of the solutions that you've come across for people going through this?
So first of all, never, ever sacrifice your morals, your values, your ethics, and yourself. Never, ever. Regardless of what that looks like, never, ever get to that point where you are sacrificing your soul. They do not value you. They do not. I know one of my friends recently resigned, and she just went back and forth, just completely lamenting about it. Oh, I just don't want to tell them. They're going to be so upset and they're not going to take it well. And I just feel so bad. She told them, and they've been treating her like crap ever since. And she's completely like, I'm so glad I'm leaving. They really don't value me. And they really don't. They will replace you tomorrow. They will go on. That company will not die without you. And, there may be some people in the company that value you, but you have to never sacrifice yourself, because at the end of the day, it's totally not worth it. There is no amount of money worth your soul. It just is not. So you need to find resources. And you need to find resources outside of where you're working, because you don't always know who you can trust within your organization. And I would hate to lead somebody towards somebody and have it backfire on them. But you need to have a mentor, a solid person that knows their stuff, that is where you want to be, that has, carved that path and gone down it and has successfully navigated it. You need to align with those people, and you need to have a support system. I could not do it without people supporting me. And that's why I want to come along those people who don't have the support that they need. I want to support them. I want to support you, because I've been lucky enough to have that. And I know that I would not be where I am today if it was not the support in place that I had. I have J.Hocutt Group, not company, because it's a group. Everybody is J.Hocutt Group. Everybody, my tribe, my people, my group, everybody, it's a group. We are in it together. So find a mentor, find a resource. Don't go it alone. Stay true to your values. And listen, if it's not serving you, it's not for you. It is your duty and responsibility to find out what your purpose is, to live it, and then to share it. It is your responsibility to do that.
Amen. So this is the second to last part, and you kind of touched on a lot of this, but speaking from a personal standpoint, having gone through this journey of coming out of corporate and hold on, Shannon says, find the tribe, biggest aha for me. Like, y'all, I agree 100% with you, with Shannon. Like, finding a tribe and finding people who literally, like, on my worst days will reach out and go, are you okay?
Absolutely. And listen, you got to find people that are going to make you level up, right? It's great to hang around people that you're helping. And as someone who's a strategist, I always love helping people. I mean, I always tell my friends, I'm like vanilla ice. You got a problem, yo, I'm going to solve it. But listen, I got problems too. And so I need to surround myself. And I've recently started doing this, surrounding myself with people who make me level up, who make me think outside the box, who make me be a bigger player. Don't just associate with people where you're at. You got to associate with the people that are far beyond you so that you have something to play up to.
All right. Yes. So now that this is the second one, so, and you touched a lot on this, so I feel like if you don't have a whole lot more, I feel like you've given so much, but on your personal journey, what were three of the biggest ahas that you have? Like, what are those three things? Like, if you could lead anybody and they're like, oh my God, I'm going through this journey, or like women you work with or people you work with in your group, what were the biggest ahas you had in amongst your whole journey doing this?
Yeah, so I think my biggest aha was I can actually do it. The best investment is me. I have to believe in myself. Everybody believed in me for a long time. I had a huge support system. I had a huge audience and following, but I didn't believe in myself. And you have to believe in yourself first. So that's number one key. And number two, I would say, when you do believe in yourself, you are the best investment that you can absolutely make. So go for it. Do not hold back. Do not try to overthink it. Do not have analysis paralysis. You got to go for it. If you truly believe in yourself, it won't be so scary, because you'll believe that it may not happen the way I want it to, but I will survive it. I will make it through. No matter what happens, I'll make it through. Even if I fall on my face, I will get back up and I will make it through. So I think that's incredibly important. And listen, if it's not serving you, stop doing it. Just stop. It's crazy. Life is too short. If it's not serving you, if it's not serving your purpose, bringing you contentment and joy, and not contributing to your life in a positive way, you owe it to yourself and everybody else around you to go find what you are meant to do. Because you're meant for bigger things, and you're just denying the whole world of your greatness, which is a total shame. Stuck doing something else. If you're tied to a paycheck because you're too afraid to take a move, that's shameful, you guys. It's shameful. Don't do that. And don't try to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. It doesn't work. I'm telling you, it doesn't work. It doesn't. So move forward. Take that risk. Believe in yourself.
Well, and it's the belief thing is really tantamount. I love that you put that, because the biggest way to get other people to believe in you is to believe in yourself first. Like, what do they say? You can't sell people without the belief, right? Like, if you don't believe in what you're doing, how is anybody else going to believe in that, right? How's anybody else going to believe in you? And then the last part that I love that you touched on is, if it doesn't serve you, get rid of it. And this is going to sound a little harsh, but I believe in this with people too. Like, if you look at the people you're surrounding yourself with, and if they are constantly putting you down, if you don't feel supported, find other people. I watched a live and I was like, find new people. Like, I don't care, whatever. Like, find new people. So if you don't feel supported where you're at, totally 100% agree with that. Find what is meant for you. Find what's going to support you. And I love that you, again, like you said, your greatness. We don't talk about greatness enough, especially as women, you guys. And that's the biggest thing that I want to bring with this show. And I love having women like yourself on you. We are so great. There's so much power within us. Like you guys, we give life. That's intense. You guys, we give life. I mean, my God, I've seen women give birth and be up and taking care of the household like the next day. Like, you know what I mean? We take care of households. We birth children. We mother. We run businesses. We do all the things. So you guys, any moment that you feel like you have to doubt yourself and you're like, I don't know if I'm great, look at everything you do on a daily basis. Like, really look at what you do. Remind yourself of how you serve people, right?
Yeah, we give birth, and guys, you know, we give birth, and that's the equivalent of a guy having a cold, right? So
your husband's probably going, man, she's really going at it today.
He knows. It won't shock him.
Oh, no, I'm sitting here going, like, I can only imagine the conversations y'all have. Like, it's like, hey, babe. And then Shannon said I did find them. So yes, I feel like from the beginning, that's always been a big part of my message, man. Find your tribe. Find your tribe.
Yes.
But make sure you're also on the level to attract the people you want. And I think you touched a little bit on that as well. It's like, make sure you are good with you inside so that you're attracting the people you want to, you know. And Suzanne said, this was awesome, ladies. So inspiring. It really was. Like, it was so high vibe, man. I'm like, this, I'm so inspired right now. We're almost at the end. Like, it blows my mind when I look up. I'm going, are we really like 5 minutes, 8:30? Holy crap. Okay. So this is the part of the show where you can tell everybody that what it is that you do. And I always, and then I didn't even hit his comment. I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. Man, hey, listen, more power to you. Strong, it takes a very strong man to support a strong woman. And
it does. And he's been at it for 20 years. So bless his heart. He's been in there a long time.
Oh my gosh, yes. So so this is the part where I want you to tell everybody how they can connect with you. And then I always recommend that all the guests drop their links in the comments of the show afterwards so that people can connect and reach out. And that also gives me an opportunity to put the links onto YouTube as well, because I always want wherever my audience is at to be able to have access to it. So tell everybody about where they can find you, what's the easiest way to connect with you, and what it is that you offer at this point in time.
Yeah, so I offer leadership and professional development. And listen, if you're stuck in a job and you know this is not for you and you just don't know which way to go, we need to chat. Let's just chat and see where you're at, see if I can help you develop a strategy, and I'm definitely going to hold you accountable to achieving it. So know that I am tough love, but you're also a big cheerleader too, and I think my group would attest to that. The easiest way to find me online is just www.J.HocuttGroup.com. I'm pretty much the only J. Hocutt. I mean, Hocutt's not that popular of a name, so it's not hard to find me. But I also run a group on Facebook called Goals and Grit. And it's a great group. I mean, very highly supportive. You can tell here a lot of my group are on tonight. They were really excited. And, you know, we just go at our goals hard. We're claiming 2020 as our year. You know, so many of us have said before, oh, the decade was just terrible and it's just been terrible year after year. And we're not doing that anymore. We're not playing that game anymore. 2020 is our year. We're claiming it. We're owning it. We're going through the tough stuff. We're making it through the messy middle and coming out on the other side, finding our greatness and living it. So we'd love to have people there. I go live twice a week to just inspire and, you know, motivate people to live their best life. And I'm just here to support people in their professional and leadership journey. If you're wanting to be a leader, I can definitely lead people on that path. If you're a new leader and you're not supported by your organization, I work with them too. And I also work with small businesses, helping them develop leadership programs for, you know, employee retention and training. And I do a lot of public speaking too. I'm getting up on my public speaking game. So if you have a company that, you know, is looking for motivation, empowerment, and public speaking, I'm your girl.
There you go. Amen. We need doing that. And then D Hall says reframing.
Yes, D Hall talks about we always reframe. That is what we do in our goals. So we don't focus on the negative, we focus on the positive. We don't talk about how we want to lose weight, we talk about how we want to get healthy. We don't talk about how we want to how we want to pay off debt, because that focuses on the fact that we didn't make great financial decisions. We want to talk about how we want to increase our wealth. So thanks, Dee, for bringing that up. We reframe and focus on the positive.
I like that. I like that. I like that. See, I always learn something new every time I have like on these conversations. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So, so thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Ashley. It was great to meet you, girl.
I know, you guys. This is the first time we've talked other than Messenger.
That's right. That's right.
I've had like 3 or 4 women just and Suzanne, we'll take one more comment. She says optimize time. Yes. I talked about that tonight in my webinar, like people talking about why they can't do lives. I just don't have time. You have time. You're just really freaked out and it's not a priority. So it's not that you don't have time. It's not. So that reframing, it's like, let's reframe that a little bit. But yeah, so I think it's amazing, because even though this is why I think this is a beneficial thing for people to connect with people that are aligned to like what they're doing, but they may not know. Like, go out there and meet people, because you really never know what you're going to learn from someone, and you never know how it's going to work out. I've had so many of these conversations where I've met the person 10 minutes before the conversation, and it's an amazing show. And I'm just like, look at that. That's awesome. So, you guys.
That's right.
And Shannon says, awesome stuff. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time. Thank you guys for showing up. You guys always. Thank you guys for taking time out, showing up. Y'all, this was awesome. I loved how interactive this was. This is always, when I think of the show, this is always my dream, to see people just really interacting and being a part of it. That's why I chose this platform, because it's not just my conversation. This is not just my table. This is for everybody to pull a seat up and be a part of the conversation, because that's how we move everything forward, is having everybody in the conversation. It's like, if we're going to have a conversation, everybody needs to be a part of it. We need to have we may not all agree, but the only way to have a dialogue is to have everybody possible present to move the dialogue along in some direction. So I always appreciate you guys for showing up. If you guys anybody catches this on the replay, put #replay so we can connect with you. Please feel free. Please go now and connect with Jennifer. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I love seeing women really step into that leadership role, and especially talking about greatness, because we do have a lot of glass ceilings and there are a lot of things, but you guys, we are in such a pivotal position in this day and age to change that, to absolutely change that. So thank you, Suzanne.
They are the best. I could not love them more.
I was going to say, I like your husband's background. I don't know what that flag is. And then Charmaine says, thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. Jennifer's mom. I love that. Jennifer's mom. I am. Oh my God. And that's cool that your mom's on here. My mom is my biggest fan. Like, I have no idea what I would do. Like, if I didn't have my mom, I would be like, I'd be so lost. And then, Jennifer, you were awesome as always. So.
Thank you, guys. Love you so much.
All right, you guys, this is the end. Thank you so much. And so for all of you, just know that if you're new, if you want to keep coming back, first and foremost, I want to say this. This is my call to action. I really want to grow this show, so I'm always looking for more women to come on the show. If you don't think you have a story, I don't care, because you do. You do. Everybody has a story. Like, you have a story. Somebody somewhere needs to hear it. And my mission with this is for the one woman. So I always say this show is for the one woman. And if the one woman is on here and she sees something and it goes, oh my God, and it makes her want to get up and do something with her life, like really change the direction of her life, then I'm walking in my purpose. This is my purpose.
Purpose, girl.
Yes. So for any women that catch this, if you are interested in taking a seat at this table and sharing your story, please reach out. I will be more than happy to get you scheduled. There's no like specific application process other than you going, hey, I want to do this. So for any woman, and please, everybody, please feel free to share the show. And always, as always, come join us every Tuesday and Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode. We are on the countdown to episode 100 now. So we are 47 episodes away from 100, you guys. So I'm excited to see where everything goes. I'm excited to bring on more women like Jennifer, and I am so excited for you guys. So As always, every Tuesday, we will see you guys next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Shannon, for the googly eyes with the hearts. All right. Much love, you guys. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Bye.